Okay, yep, looks like it's recording. So in order to trim this out using these splines, we have to make sure that, as we looked at before, if I come in and I go insert curve and I want to do a split line basically means I'm going to cut the surface into two pieces. I'm going to use the section. Here it is here, because it's all one sketch. Oops, we got to go to projection. It's all one sketch. And then I'll select this surface. Now what happens is, because we've got this extra line in there, and it comes up like this and goes around, this is the trim, the cutout that we're going to get. So what we need to do is adjust that curve so we're getting what we want. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to come back because I want to see what your sketch looks like. So we're just going to do that. And I can see that, hey, I'm not sure why you put this line in. It was an attempt to do something. But as I look at this, I want this to come up into here and blend in. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back and we're going to edit this. And we're going to delete that. And we've got a fair number of splines here. So I would say that you would want to try to simplify this. But right off the bat, I'm going to delete this one because we just want this to go up beyond that surface. I'm also going to come in, because if I look at your mural board, this is a nice smooth line. So what I'm noticing is, well, maybe you do have it on there, but it's just ugly. Okay, so you do have a tangent. Okay, so what I would do is I'd sweeten this up a little bit. And you can see right off the bat, by doing that, it makes this a little bit smoother. Because if you have the tangency too close, you can see here, even though it's tangent, it creates an, it's not a smooth transition. Oh, let me zoom back out. And you can see how it straightens out. So the length of the tangency is what can kind of smooth it out. It's basically saying, hey, I want you to be tangent for this distance before you start curving up into the next curve. So if I come in and I do that, I feel that's a little bit nicer looking. We won't get into this because we could say that that looks good. Part of it too is that you're coming off of straight lines, but that's fine. Now, if we turn back on our model, oops, let me get out of the, if we turn back on our model, we can see what we want is for this line to go past this surface edge. So we'll edit this in, and for what we're going to do, I'm just going to drag it. And oh, it looks like it dives in. Okay, so here's one of the things. Ideally, what you would do is you would have put these splines on a different sketch.
Like each of them?
No, just your splines. So instead of putting your splines on the first sketch that has the background image,
oh,
because what that would allow me to do, right now if I want to edit this image, this sketch, it has to go all the way back up to here, and I can't use that surface reference for anything. that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back because I want to use this edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and I'm going to create a new sketch. And we'll do it on the right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to recreate this. So you use this spline. And I don't know why it does this, but sometimes it doesn't let you make it tangent until you change it. No, okay. I'm not going to do that because it doesn't know what direction to go in. So one of the things that we want to remember is that your sketch, whoops, your sketch was a rough sketch. Come on. It may not have been perfect in relative comparison to what you wanted it to look like. That's going to be something that we're going to talk about tomorrow or on Tuesday. Because the next step of this project is going to be, are you happy with your surface form? Not does your surface form match your sketch perfectly. Are you happy with it? And then it's going to be a matter of adjusting it and changing it so that you do become happy with it. So there I've got that. I want it to match up perfectly to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to project this curve onto this surface. So I'm going to convert the entities. So now I've got a line that I can snap to for tangency. The problem is, if I try to snap to tangency here, it's going to give me an error because it doesn't know, tangent to what? It's the middle of a line. Is it the right? Is it the left? It doesn't know. So what I can do is come back and say, if that's the point where I want this curve to end, I'm going to come back and I'll trim that line. And for some reason, it didn't let me trim. Okay. I'm just doing this to see if this is going to allow me to trim that line. Okay, so for some reason, it wasn't allowing me to trim it at this point. So a quick cheat is just to dump that line in. So now if I come in and I do this, oh, come on, you dumbass. Okay, so I'm wondering, no, I'm just going to go back to make sure. I'm going to hide the surface bodies. don't know why it doesn't want to give me. So I'm going to cheat here. Sometimes there's only so much time I want to spend on something. So I come back and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to do a style spline. And what I'm going to do is, there's that. So I need one for tangency. We'll do one for adjustment, one for tangency, and then we'll snap it there. So with that said, I'm going to take this and this. We're going to try to make it tangent. And then we're going to take this and this and try to make it tangent. You can see that worked. You know, so it's one of those things, again, how much time am I going to waste personally? Not much. So now, because it's tangent, I can adjust these. And this is my little one that's going to allow me to adjust the center. And I may have wanted 2 here. And the reason I want 2 is because it's always going to be this bullnose. So what we'll do is we'll come in and we're going to insert one right there. So now I'm going to be able to get a little bit tighter stuff. So you can see again, I started off with the least amount. And you can see now I'm starting to be able to move these around to get that tighter point. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So the next is, I'm just going to, now theoretically, I should have drawn this line in this sketch and snapped it to that. But I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to come in, and you've got this coming out like this. Okay. So now what I've got is I've got a spline up above this surface. So if I need to change this spline, I can do it here versus having to go all the way up to here and losing everything. Okay, so we're going to turn this off for now. Turned it off. Oh, there we go. It's sketch 3. This doesn't do what I wanted to do. Even it matched up your curve. I don't feel that that's very nice. So what I would do is I'd probably pull this out a little bit. So it's a matter of playing, but I'm not going to play. So now I'm going to come back. I'll turn this back on. I'm going to unhide my surface. No, I don't need a mesh. I'm going to unhide this. And this is really the only surface I need right now. I don't need the top one. So for me, simplify my screen. What I'm going to do now is come in, insert reference geometry after I get out of the sketch. Insert reference geometry or curve, split line. Now I've got things cleaned up a little bit. So now I can project this curve or this sketch onto this surface and hit go. Now you can see that we've got a nice clean intersection here. Okay, do you see that?
Yes, where it's tangent and it's like completely up to that line.
Yeah, I think this is what you are looking for. So let us now come in, and we can leave that there if we want for now. We don't have to remove it, the key thing that we want is this edge on the surface, because that's what we're going to use as our guide rail. So that's going to be something that we're going to snap to. Okay, so what we want to do now is, if I'm reading your sketch, this surface fades out to here and goes kind of on a straight line, like the center of it is here. So the apex or the peak of your arc is right in here. Is that fair to say?
Do you mean like a cross-section view of it?
Yeah, so if I'm looking at this,
those like black lines that are all over it, those aren't my cross-section lines. Those are from when Nathan and I were looking at it. So if you like move over to the right is where the actual like contour lines are on this one.
okay, sorry, but what I was trying to say is this angles downward.
Yes.
Okay, so that's going to be the plane that we want, because that's going to control, that curve there is going to be what controls how far out this comes and how far in it tapers. Does that make sense?
Yes, I just don't know how I'd make it.
Okay, well, no, and that's what I'm here for. So what we want to do is we're going to create a plane. So we're going to go to our right view. No. Yeah, we're going to go to our right view. And we want to create a sketch plane. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, I want this curve. And you know what? I'm just going to, actually, it doesn't matter where I snap to. Yeah, I'm going to snap to there. I'm going to go from here to here. We're going to create a surface. And what I'm doing is I'm setting up a plane so that from the top view, I'm going to build this spline. Okay? But in order to get that spline, I need to have a planar surface. Pain in my ass because it's SolidWorks. Once I have this curve, I can then build these shapes, these cross sections. So I'm going to come back. We're going to extrude. And then we'll accept. And I'm going to do this in 3D so you can kind of see, because if I go to a top view, it'll be different. Oh, excuse me. Oh. So I'm going to create that as my sketch plane. So we'll sketch on there. We're going to hit accept. For me, I turn off the surface. It just makes it easier for me to see. But I know it's there. Whoa, what happened? Okay, so there. We're going to do sketch, select a plane or a face. Okay, then I can come up here and hide that. There we go. So what I want to do now is I'm just going to draw a quick spline, style spline. 1, 2. Okay. So what I want to do now is I want to make sure that this snaps to that point, because that's where it's going to end. So there we got that. We're going to make it coincident. Oh, hold on. Oh, right, because I made it up to this point here. Okay, so maybe I didn't get the plane perfectly right. But what I can now do is go to that view. What happened here? There we go. Okay, I think I grabbed the wrong plane because it's not. Yeah. Bear with me. Oh, I'm going the wrong direction. So we're going to say that's how you want it. So now, if I had that surface, now I've got that boundary from a top view that comes out. So do you see what I did there?
You created like a profile and an angle.
Yep. And that's kind of what's going to define that center point. Now, I may not have had your center point the way you want it, but that's something you can adjust. And the nice thing that I like about doing this is I could come back in and all I have to do is edit that sketch and it adjusts my angle. Because I made a relationship where I said this snaps to this line, it will always do that. So that's one of the advantages. So now it's going to be, we're going to want to build some surfaces. We're not going to, oh, hold on, let me get back to there. I don't, there. And the reason I'm putting this here is as I envision your form in my head, it's going to look weird if it comes up here. I want that split line at that peak. So a lot of, this is why I don't have you guys designing as you go. And the reason for that is I don't think you're ready. You're so busy trying to build the surfaces. I don't think you guys are ready to be massaging the form while you go. That's why the process is build the form, look at what you don't like, sketch it out, massage it back in. Some of that I still need to do sketching for complex. Some of it you guys will eventually get to the point where if you're comfortable with SolidWorks, you can see it in your head and tweak it and refine it. Okay. So the next step is we're going to want to place the contour lines like you had. So, and what I would do is I know this is going to be an interesting area here for it to come into because it all comes to a point, you know, at this junction. Points are bad. like having things come to a sharp point, is why you kind of got that one little tweak or that one little area. Same as this point down here. So what I do is I say, okay, well, this is going to be a complex area. What I'm going to do is I'm going to build from here to here. That's good for this surface. That's going to be my primary surface because that's going to control the overall form. Then I'll build this secondary surface in here. So you can see we build, so you can see here's your primary, here's your secondary, you know. Well, now that I'm going to build my primary here, or once I've got this built, this one here becomes the primary, and I'm going to break it down even further. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly, again, draw two I'm going to draw two sketches, and if you recall, one thing that makes your sketches better is if your surface is sweeping downward, you want your curves angled in that direction versus just doing a vertical plane. So you kind of saw in the last class where I did that for Megan, and it changed the surface very considerable. So what I'm going to do is I'll draw a line, and again, what I'm going to do, this is going to be my angle. So I'm going to make it real simple. It's 90 degrees off that angle. And then I'm going to do another one. Oh, if you don't know when you're modeling, really quick, simple thing, when you're done a line, if you hold down your right button, you get your little window up. So all I need to do if I want to draw another line, I hold the button and just push to the left. So these are the shortcuts. Don't worry about the shortcuts. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to build the two planes at once. And then we're going to sketch this first one. For this, I'm not going to turn that off. Now this may be too low. I don't know. We're going to see. For this, I'm just going to make it simple. And I'm going to do the normal style spline. Again, I want to select this. And I'm going to have it pierce so that it guarantees it's touching that line. So I'm going to go here. And I know that this plane intersects with this curve. So I'm going to select it, and I'm going to say pierce. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a separate line because I don't want to try to make, I could try to make this all one line. And maybe, you know what? I could either, what I can do is I can either build the top surface using two separate splines, or I can build the bottom surface with two separate splines, or I can do a full spline that is going to go here to down here. The difference between doing that is two surfaces are easier to edit individually than one curve is. And let's say I want to have a big radius or I want to do something, I can trim back those edges. So for now, I'm going to cheat. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to build one there, and one there. So I'll take this like we did before. We're going to pierce it to that. We'll take this one here. We'll pierce it to that. And then we're going to take this one and we're going to pierce it to that. So now you can see I'm starting to match up with your contour lines. Maybe not perfectly. And then we'll build another sketch here. And usually what you want to do, mathematically, the software knows where your sketch starts and where your sketch ends. So if my curve started up here and went down there, I want to do the same thing. I want to have the start here and the end here. It just helps the surface, the SolidWorks, to figure out things easier. There's less math it has to do. So down the stream, you know, the easier it is for SolidWorks to think, the easier it is for you to work in your model, and the less bogged down SolidWorks becomes. So from here, we're going to do the exact same thing. Got to make sure I grab the point. Oop. Something going on weird. There we go. Okay. So same thing now, we've got these. Now, no, I couldn't have. So now what I'm going to do, we'll hide these surfaces just to get them out of my way. Now you can see I've got I'm starting to get my network of curves. Are you able to see the gray lines?
Yes, I can see them.
Okay. So you can see how we're starting to get that surface that we want based off of all these guidelines. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put in this secondary surface. We'll see how that goes. Because what I might have wanted to do as I look at this, I may have wanted to put a spline in here, but we'll see how it goes. So we're going to do boundary surface. And we'll go from here. Again, you always want it to go in the direction that you want the surface to be made. We're going to go to there. Now we're going to come here. We've got multiple lines on this split line. So the one nice thing about trying to get one perfect curve is that you don't have multiple edges. So what I'm going to do, because I've got multiple, I have to come in and do Selection Manager. We're going to go there and there. Let's see what the error is. I don't know what that error is. So let's try. I'm wondering if it's because of that. So let's edit this. I think it doesn't like coming down that edge. Hold on. Do you see where it's saying this is tangent? It wants that. You see these two little dots?
Yes, just little blue dots.
That's
So like that.
that's because I'm missing an edge. So it won't connect. So if I come in and we add that, still doesn't like it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say screw you. I'm going to come back up and I'm going to say, you know what, I want a filled surface. Oops. And I think because we have this weird intersection, that's what it's not liking. So let's do a boundary or a filled surface. We've got this edge. We've got this edge. We've got this edge. I don't think it's going to like this either. The boundary is open. Okay. So I got a feeling this is where it gets hard, because I can't see my edge anymore. There it is. Okay, so I think I know what's going on. Where before I wasn't getting that small little piece, I've got a feeling no. Okay, so what are we going to do here? What are we going to do? So I'm going to break this down even more. I'm going to come back and I'm going to add in another profile. So I've got that. And then what I also want to try to do, what I would like to do, is to get rid of this little edge here. So with that said, I'm going to come back to my split line. I'm going to edit my split line. And this is one of those things where what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this, I'm not going to worry about this fillet. I'll do that as a secondary thing later. So what I've got now is I've got a clean edge. So, oh no, what the hell? Okay, so I'm going to adjust this split line again. And instead of trying to make a tangent here, come on. I'm just going to have it come out. Let's see if that gets rid of it for me. Because the whole thing is I can go back in and patch that surface in. So there we've got that. Okay. Let's see if that does what we want. No. Oh, come on. Okay, so I think what I need to do, so I think the problem is because this isn't tangent, it doesn't like it. So we may end up with a crease. But again, even with me, I rough these surfaces in. Now ideally, I want these all to be parallel. You know what I'm doing here, so I'm just going to go faster.
Travis, I think I understand what I'm supposed to do now. I have to go pretty quick here.
Yeah, okay. Do you want me to save the video and send it to you?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll do that once we get off. I just want to see if this is... Sorry, because it becomes one of those things where it's like, son of a... So again, I was trying to do it all in one happy surface. You can hop off at any time. I'm just doing one of those things where it's like, damn it, you give it to me the way I want it. There we go. So that was the problem, is that it was trying to get... It didn't like that gip. So again, you just have to keep flushing that out. And kind of like I said, so now you can kind of see that we're starting to get there. Does that help?
Yes, it does. It helps a lot. I think I know what I'm going to be doing for a while today.
Okay, so the key thing too is, part of the hiccup, and you worry about this later, because we're roughing it in, is this spline is not... This spline is causing us the problem. How it intersects is what's causing us the problem to get these surfaces to go perfectly. But that's fine because you roughed the form in. So let me stop the recording. I'll upload that to YouTube and email you the link.